What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Curt and Bob Show. He's Curt. I'm Bob. Curtis, it is Monday, August 1st, and we've got some big news dropping today. But first, we had some stuff come in, I believe, last week, right? The Deebo deal happened
Yeah,
last week?
you got it. Yeah, Deebo deal. It might have even been this weekend, to be honest. Let
Yeah.
me let me check when the tweet was July 31st. Yeah, so literally yesterday at 7 o'clock about is when Rappaport reported it here. So shout out Ian Rappaport, good work. And yeah, so Deebo Samuel 3-year extension. So similar to Kyler Murray, right? So Kyler still had a year left on his deal and got his massive contract, and Deebo's same difference. He still had a year left, but he now has a 3-year extension, so 4-year deal total. It's worth up to 73.5 million with 58 million guaranteed. And from the start, I think this is exactly what Deebo was looking for, and I think. Comparatively to the other receivers who have gotten paid this offseason, this is the receiver who deserved it the most because he's been more than just a receiver, as we've talked about so much, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd liked to see Terry McLaurin get his money.
For
Thought
sure.
it was a little bit much, but Deebo, I think he deserved it, plain and simple. So I'm sure he's happy now. And 49ers, I don't know. He, they got to get the ball to him. And I don't know if Trey Lance is that dude, but, you know, they may keep doing what they did with him last year, and maybe they have more success. Maybe it allows Trey Lance to. I don't know what Trey Lance is capable of, honestly. I don't think it's
Mm-hmm.
very much, but he could surprise me, and I think he could surprise a lot of people. But I don't know. I feel like you're going to get a lot out of Deebo. Basically, the same production that you got out of him from last year. So, time to pay the piper. 58 million guaranteed. It's it's a lot of money, but it's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like you said, worth every penny for Debo, how much of the offense he was for the 49ers last year. I'm sure fantasy owners everywhere are happy that we don't have to go into the season dealing with a, dramatic situation, right? Because those situations that they can play into the season sometimes where a player doesn't get paid and then all of a sudden they're in street clothes one game and there's, drama going on. So I'm really glad that this drama is settled. It seems like just last week we were talking about videos getting leaked of his mom talking about, his contract or him talking to his mom over a FaceTime or something like that, right? And so it goes to show that all of that drama a couple months back is now all solved, and we are good to move forward with Deebo and the Niners, with the Niners having a fully new offensive staff now since most of their staff went to Miami. I doubt we will see that much of a difference in the play calling, though, as Shanahan is the offensive guru, right? So he's the guy who makes the final say there, and I'm sure even more so now that Mike McDaniel is gone. So I don't see his usage changing at all. I know he did say he'd like to be used less as a running back, right, Bob?
Yeah, and they'll probably use him less out of the backfield
Mm-hmm.
and as more of a true wide receiver. But I still think that he's going to get jet sweeps. He's going to get
Oh
all
yeah.
these different types of like uh, I mean, he's going to get his work from the backfield. Maybe not lined up in I formation or anything like that, but he's certainly going to get some work back there.
Yeah, no kidding. Like in I formation as a wide receiver, not often, not really ever done. But last year you saw it with Deebo Samuel, where he would just dot the I there and take it right, left, in between the tackles wherever he wanted to go. So great deal. I'm sure they're gonna be a little more reasonable with him because football is a game that will wear you down like over time. So how many more of last seasons can Debo have right before you start to see the wear and tear kick in, and that is inevitable in the sport. So it is very good to see him on a nice like guaranteed deal that not only protects him but also protects the 49ers from any more criticism and lets the fans relax a bit now and focus on football, training camp, and what this rookie quarterback Trey Lance is going to do, because Trey Lance is number one. Even though Jimmy's still on the roster technically, Trey Lance is the number one guy going into this season. So a lot to be known with the 49ers this coming year. I honestly couldn't tell you, Bob. What would you just ballpark it out there? What do you put the 49ers at end of the season? Let's pretend.
Wins wise, or
Yeah,
what
wins
are we?
wise. You think they're just in my gut, I feel like I don't know if I can trust Trey Lance enough, and I feel like there's still some other uncertainties. So I would honestly only put him at a 9-10 win team even with Deebo.
I
I
was
feel
gonna
like.
say I was literally gonna say 9 wins. I was
Yeah.
gonna say you could put him
Okay.
at maybe like 500 ish, right around that win.
Yeah,
Like
we're in the same boat then for that. Yeah.
yeah. I
Deebo,
think that
great player.
maybe I think that they made the playoffs last year. Yeah, they
Oh
they
yeah,
went
they
all
made
the
a
way to the
run.
NFC Championship, right?
It was a weird run, right? They were supposed to lose to the Cowboys, they didn't. They were supposed to lose to the Packers, they didn't. They were supposed to lose to the Rams, and they barely lost that one. So the Niners
Yeah.
were a very quiet playoff team last year, which sounds funny to say because that's the NFC was just so hyped up last year with the Cardinals, the Buccaneers, the Packers, the Rams, the Cowboys. Like those were the top five teams, and not just the NFC, but the NFL. A lot of people were saying, myself included. I thought the NFC had the top five teams, and Tampa eliminated by the Rams early, Cowboys eliminated by the Niners early, Cardinals embarrassed by the Rams in the Monday night playoff game. So the guys that we thought were on top going into the playoffs really got kicked out pretty early, and the Niners were actually the ones who ended up making the run against the Rams. Unfortunately to no avail, but yeah, they were a playoff team last year, but I think they've lost a lot this offseason, and I don't trust Trey Lance just because as a alumni of Kennesaw State University, I have seen what kind of football is played at that level, and it's not pretty. It really is, to put it bluntly, it is not pretty football. So we will see what Trey Lance does this coming year, that's for sure, and 49ers fans can relax now. So with that, Bob, I will get us into our more obvious story of the day, probably what everyone's waiting for who is listening, and that is the Deshaun Watson ruling has finally come. Now, this is not final. This is the ruling by the judge. It is a 6-game suspension, and the NFL has 3 days to appeal this, and the NFL could appeal if they believe that it is worth more. I find the case very interesting from the legal and the emotional standpoint are really on two opposite ends of the spectrum here. So, Bob, I'll let you start us off. What do you think with the 6-game suspension here with Deshaun?
Off the bat, too little. Way too
Yep.
little. Needs to be a full season. You look at Calvin Ridley, he gets a full year suspension for betting on his own
Yep.
team. As a Falcons fan, just I think I just it's just laughable. And I understand you can look at the details and the policies that they have, the NFL's, their suspension policies and whatnot, but that it is an obvious and glaring issue then they need to change the wording in some of these policies, and they need to change, I guess, just they need to set a precedent, and they failed at doing that, I think, with this whole Deshaun Watson thing.
Yep.
And they set a precedent with Calvin Ridley, and then for a full season, and then you give Deshaun Watson a third of the punishment that Calvin Ridley gets. And Calvin Ridley was throwing money around, dumb money, betting on his own team. And then the Deshaun Watson is like, it's sexual misconduct. It's a such way more serious issue
Yeah.
than betting on your own team in the NFL. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the league, and I don't know. I mean, too little. That's all I have to say is too little.
Yeah, it's been an exhausting spring and summer with all this Deshaun stuff, that's for sure. And, just a few weeks back, we were both saying a full season at least, right? Then Deshaun's team came out a month after we said that, probably, obviously not in response to us, but that was the common state around the media is, oh, he will be suspended at least for a season. That's not including fines or anything. And Deshaun's team came out and said that they would sue if Deshaun Watson was suspended for a full season due to the fact that he still has yet to be convicted. And that really is what is just the most irritating part about this case, I think, for a lot of people, is that it is very, it is very easy to tell that, whether or not he did one thing or the other, he's definitely had his share in this, and a lot of evidence leads back to him. The issue is the lack of physical evidence that says, got it. We've got it right here. About the best evidence we've had in this case for how many months it's been going on now, right, is the Instagram DMs that were leaked by him, and then the Houston Texans being found, paying for his hotel rooms to go have private massages in, which all of his activity is suspect. And that's what's so frustrating, is it seems clear as day, but there is no conviction. He actually passed he didn't get a criminal charge, so he was relieved of that. They're all civil cases left, and it's so frustrating because he has really said nothing to defend himself, which I understand is probably the smart thing to do. A lot of people put their foot in their mouths if they try to go too out on a whim, right? But I just want to pick one piece out here. This is a statement from the judge here. And she said, and I quote, "I am bound by standards of fairness and consistency of treatment among players similarly situated." The NFL argues that consistency is not possible because there are no similarly situated players, by ignoring past decisions because none involve similar conduct. However, the NFL is not just equating violent conduct with nonviolent, but has elevated the importance of the latter without any substantial evidence to support its position. And I'll try to decipher the legal talk here, and that's basically saying that she's looking at the player conduct policy. She's looking at players who have violated it in the past, similarly Ben Roethlisberger, was also served a 6-game suspension for a similar case with one woman that was settled out of court 2 years after his suspension. But that really seems to be the only real thing to draw a parallel to. We had the Ray Rice situation as well, right, which I believe was only a 2-game suspension. And then we have Tom Brady took a little bit of air out of a football, or the equipment staff took a bit of air out of the football, and that's 4 games. So overall, if Deshaun does get out of this with a 6 to 8 game, I think immediately by the NFL you say, all right, take it, but we're about to revamp this whole this whole player conduct, because it is very dated. I think it's very fair to say that it is very dated, especially with just you should be able to be suspended from a league giving you all of this capital for just embarrassing a league. Could you imagine if the CEO of Nike was on Twitter all day every day just sending out controversial and ridiculous statements, right, and just embarrassing the company, not doing anything illegal, but just being an absolute embarrassment? Like the board would be able to vote him off, right? They'd be able to say, get out of here. Like, so this is a situation where the NFL is kind of trapped by their own player conduct policy. It's so hard to get around, and it's very, very frustrating, right?
Yeah, and also keeping in mind, I think I read that Deshaun, he can appeal as well, I believe, and I think that he is not going to, because he trusts his team was talking about how they trust that the NFL system is fair, and they have no doubts that whatever suspension comes his way, like he believes that it will be fair and that he will serve his time or whatever, just to show that he trusts the NFL. I don't know. I don't really understand. I understand his whole thing of not to appeal, because if he appeals, sure, he might get his suspension lessened, but it looks really bad after everything that's already happened. Is like dude, just take your 6 game suspension and eat it. Instead, which I think that's the plan because it would just look a whole lot worse for him if he appealed. Um, I don't know. I think the NFL should appeal. I'm not sure what would come of it. I'm not sure anything would come of it. But it's just like I said, precedent needed to be set, and the NFL has failed once again. You bring up the Ray Rice situation. You bring up all these other situations where precedent was set, and it was set way, way, way too low.
Yep.
And then you see a Brady 4 game suspension for the Deflate Gate, and then you see a Calvin Ridley 1 year suspension for betting on football.
Yeah.
And then you look and you're like, how does that even equate? How are these? How? So I don't know. It's not enough. Not
Yep.
enough.
It's not enough, and they probably will appeal, and I imagine they'll push for a season or 8, but it's also so hard because in the just for media's sake, they have to appeal. But I think deep down they know they aren't really going to get more than, I don't see more than 8 games, because if they go to a year, Deshaun and his team will sue back and most likely win due to the fact that, again, that lack of hard evidence. And that's what's so frustrating is just that lack of, we just one concrete piece of evidence, and this would be a closed case, a season or more on top of fines, right? And that's, to bring Calvin Ridley in, that's what got him caught, is doing, I believe it was doing his taxes, right? And finding out that he bet on an NFL game, like a horrible parlay, like a 6-team, 7-team parlay. It was a moronic bet.
It was
too.
bad because he bet on the Falcons to win.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
Oh, and I think the parlay overall was just horrible. It was.
Yeah.
I don't know if he hit any. It was just so funny to see, because he was just thinking like a regular person. He forgot his that he was in the NFL for a second. I don't know. He was on the mental health leave, right? During that time, he played the first 2 games this season, right? And then Ridley had to step away from the game for whatever, family or mental health reasons he needed to. But it was during that time that he bet and placed a parlay, and you almost wonder if someone did it for him, or you know what I mean, like if he was with a lot of family. It just seemed so ridiculous. And yeah, to get a year for that. And it's interesting how stern the NFL is on the integrity of the game, as in, we do not rig games, we do not, anything of this. And then you see these Deshaun, Roethlisberger, Ray Rice, even Tyreek Hill a few years back, right? He got into some weeds, no suspension and no proof, and that was all handled in house. But there was some weeds in his past as well with some domestic abuse. We'll call them allegations. So the precedent is definitely too low. And after this Deshaun case, the NFL is going to have to restructure their whole player conduct policy, because the media is not a fan. And, not just media, just people. There are many, many people out there who just, with their common sense, think, okay, hold on, this is a little ridiculous that this guy's getting suspended a year for a parlay, and this guy's getting 6 for 20 plus, cases of alleged sexual assault and everything. So it's very interesting. We're definitely going to find out a lot in the next couple days here from the NFL. And what do you think, Bob? What do you think it's going to land on? What do you think the final would be? I would think the best I could say is 8 games, but I think it'll stay at 6. I don't.
I think
see
it'll
it
stay at 6 too.
I don't see it.
I don't. No, it'll sit at 6.
Yep.
And it is what it is. And I don't know. It would be different if I was sitting here as a Falcons fan and Deshaun Watson came to the Falcons.
Definitely.
But here's the thing: is that's really bad to say. And then you know what?
Some Browns fans are saying it already. That's That's what it
Yeah,
is.
but here's the thing. Okay, so here's the thing: is as a Falcons fan, I would want him to play, but I don't think I could honestly.
It'd
If
be
he
hard to
came to the
root for.
Falcons,
It would be
it
hard to
really
root
would.
for.
It really would. It would be like, uh, yeah, you know what? I walk that back. I walk that statement back. That's a terrible thing to say because like after I just am dogging on the man for, you know, all this sexual misconduct stuff and yeah, I walk that back completely because realistically he deserves a full season suspension. And I'm happy he's not an Atlanta Falcon because if he was, I wouldn't want him on my team. I don't know.
Just for
It would
drama's
be
sake,
really
even.
tough. It would
It's
be
yeah.
really tough to support this dude after the fact. And like you said, no hard evidence, so I don't know.
Yeah,
I
no
don't
no
know.
hard evidence and innocent till proven guilty is really saving Deshaun right now. And that's really all there is to say on it. This could keep developing. Maybe more evidence will come into play here. There's still plenty of time for a few of these cases, so this will always be on the burner for the next few months, and it's going to be interesting to if week 7, assuming that it stays at 6, when week 7 rolls around and he comes on the field. I don't, unless it's a home game, I guess I don't see many cheers, and I find it would be difficult to even broadcasting it. Not difficult, but you know what I mean. It'd be hard to sit there and elate him, right? Like, oh, Deshaun's here. He's done this and this and this in his career. So it's gonna be a very interesting time because this is really the first very popular young QB to get in one of these situations since Ben Roethlisberger, and Ben Roethlisberger was back in what it was 2010-ish. So media was far less prevalent. It was a story for a couple days, and then it was back to football. So it'll be interesting to see how time does here with Deshaun Watson. Will people be over it by week 7? Will more come up to play? It's going to be interesting to see. So with that, we will transition off Deshaun unless you got any final comments, Bob.
No, I do not. NFL did a disservice to all the women. That's what I'll end it on.
Yeah, they're gonna have to reevaluate that player conduct. That's for sure.
They
That
got to
is
look
that
at
is
it. They
for
have
sure.
to. Plain and simple, they got to restructure that somehow, some way. Reword it at least.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's enough of Deshaun.
Yeah, enough of Deshaun and into the next segment here, and we are going to be doing redrafting the 2017 top 10 here. So 2017, a fantastic draft class. Honestly, pretty first round. You see a lot of very
Except for the
familiar
Falcons.
names.
Except for the
Uh,
Falcons, who drafted Takaris McKinley in front of the likes of
oh
T.J.
yeah,
Watt.
David Njoku,
Uh,
even Tre'Davious White,
Tre'Davious
Buda
White went
Buda
right
Baker,
behind him.
Buda
Tre'Davious White
Baker.
went right behind him.
Oh man.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, 2017, man. This was the Deshaun Kaiser year. I didn't even know that. That's crazy. What a bust.
I was a Deshaun Kaiser stan.
No way. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I'm so
in one
sorry.
game, I don't know if you remember the game where Aaron Rodgers got hit in the head so bad Deshaun Kaiser had to come in,
Oh yeah.
and then they got him all hopped up on pills or whatever in the locker room. He comes back out, and his post game interview, he's like acting like a clown in his post game interview because they won the game.
Yep.
Deshaun Kaiser came in and he played really good football for like the first drive that he was in. And I think this was like freshman year of college. And
Yeah.
I was with my roommates, Griffin and Colin. And I was like, oh, Deshaun Kaiser's got to stay in, bro. Like, he's got to stay in. He's playing way better than Rodgers was playing. And then they clowned me for it. And then he got pulled. And then
Few
Rodgers ended up
interceptions
coming in and
later.
winning the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, yeah, they never let me live that one down.
Oh yeah. Deshaun Kaiser was a nightmare for sure. I don't even remember where he went to college. Let's check right here.
Notre Dame, I think.
Notre Dame. Oh, I think you're right. Notre Dame. You're right. Yeah, so with that, we'll redraft it here. Bob, you want the first or second overall pick? I'll give you your choice.
Or wait, are you? So we're
So we'll
alternating
alternate.
picks?
We'll alternate picks if you want to do that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah, we'll alternate.
Perfect.
Go ahead and get number one because I feel like it's obvious.
Oh yeah. Number one, Miles Garrett. The answer is yes. The Cleveland Browns took Miles Garrett first overall in 2017. I'd keep it. I really would. I know there
Really?
is. I would keep it because he is one of those generational edge talents that you don't get every year, right? And while the Browns at this time definitely had a need for quarterback with Deshaun Kaiser in the second round.
That's
This was still when the Browns were a little far out of being competitive, right? So Miles Garrett is a cornerstone piece to your franchise, and we've seen that to this day. So that's a player that'll be there forever, and you never know if a certain other quarterback, not to spoil, would have had the same production being thrown into that system opposed to sitting for a year behind a guy like Alex Smith and a great coach and team there. So you got to wonder about those things as well. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna keep Miles Garrett at number one. I love the pick.
wow.
Thought it was fantastic.
Interesting. I do like the pick. Now, I don't know that I would have stuck with it, but I respect the decision. Yeah. I
Hats off
mean,
to
Miles
Miles Garrett.
Garrett,
He's a
good
unit.
player.
He's
Good player. Good player. So that takes me to the number two overall pick, who, if anyone remembers,
the
um,
Chicago Bears are now on the clock.
and they selected Mitch Trubisky out of North Carolina. I am not keeping that pick. I am redrafting that pick, and I I mean, I go get Patrick Mahomes looking back on this now. I thought Patrick Mahomes, I like realistically,
Oh, everyone
if
thought he was a bust back then. It was.
like Mahomes, I mean, it speaks for itself, but like looking back on it now, you get Mahomes with that pick.
He's an
Like
anomaly.
plain
Yeah,
and simple.
he is turned out to be the best quarterback in this draft. Although there is another great quarterback on the field in this draft who we just talked a little bit about a few minutes ago, but we'll
Yeah.
get into that for sure, for sure. Which is ironic. I actually didn't know that this. Wow, that's funny. Anyways, that's good timing for sure. And yeah, no, Patty Mahomes, he's just transcendent talent. Like what? He's got a $500 million contract with the Chiefs now, right?
Yeah. And he owns part of the Kansas City Royals. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I think he owns
hometown
the
man.
soccer team there too, or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, he could own the whole state if he wanted to. He and I'm
For
sure
real.
I'm sure he will when he retires. But
Yeah.
yeah, he will have more than enough generational wealth, we'll call it, for generations and generations to come after him. So number three here, we're gonna go San Francisco 49ers, and they drafted Solomon Thomas back in 2017 with the number three overall pick. And this is what is so crazy is Solomon Thomas. Similarly, I believe this was the same GM who is now over at the Jags. It's GM or coach, someone who makes those decisions. And watched a segment on this how people thought the Jaguars were going to take Trayvon Walker number one this year because of the draft record of the GM or coach, because he's always chosen the bigger, more dominant looking prospects over maybe the more clear cut edge rushers like there were in this draft. So I'm just going to replace Solomon Thomas here at number three with another edge rusher, and we go TJ Watt number three
Oh
overall here.
yeah.
So, I can't believe TJ Watt, he was drafted 30th in the first round. So still a first rounder, but
Wild.
30th. Taco Charlton was taken before him. To Karis McKinley, I won't spoil too many other picks, but yeah, it's crazy how, the players that were drafted ahead of TJ Watt and how he's turned out. So I think he's a clear-cut number three overall pick there to the Niners. Could you imagine?
I mean, I mean,
TJ Watt, Nick Bosa, imagine that.
yeah. I'm
Ooh-wee.
just their defense. Yeah, it'd be crazy. Oh man, Nick Bosa's so good
Yeah,
too.
he
It's
is.
crazy. Anyways, yeah, that'd be crazy. So I mean, I respect the pick 100% there.
Yeah, you've got a
Uh,
controversial pick up here because I think this is a great pick, but the team really didn't pan out here.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest here at 4. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars and Leonard Fournette at the running back position out of LSU.
Great
I'm
pick.
keeping this pick.
Yeah, I love it. Great. I love
I'm
it. Thank
keeping
you.
it. He's a really good running back, and the Jags just, oh my gosh, they fumbled just him as a player, as a person. It was,
Yep.
I mean, unbelievable. It
Him
went.
and
Didn't
Jalen
they
Ramsey.
release him?
Yeah, no, it was a mutual parting basically with Leonard Fournette, Jalen
Oh,
Ramsey. They trade to the Rams. The
yeah.
people forget how good the Jaguars were in like 2017, 28. Like they were a playoff team. They were a pass interference
Blake
call.
Bortles.
Yeah, Blake Bortles at Jags, and they were a pass interference call against the Patriots away from being in the AFC Championship, or it might have even been the Super Bowl. Like the Jaguars have this horrible, just rain cloud over their franchise's head, and it's just such a dark, stormy rain cloud. Everyone forgets how amazing they were in 2017-18. That was Miles Jack in his prime on the defense. The Jaguars' defense could not be stopped, and man, they were electric to watch, and it was so awesome. It felt like they were turning the corner as a franchise. And what do we have last year, Bob? Good old Urban Meyer, right? So put him right back down. Oh man, but yeah, no, I would keep the pick too. I think that's a great. Leonard Fournette to this day, he's good. What would you put him? You think he's a top 10 fantasy running back and just NFL running back right now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely top 10 fantasy for sure. I
Yeah.
would say he's. I mean,
Goes from
depending
Jacksonville to
on
play with Brady and has now won a Super Bowl as well. It's like to note
yeah,
that.
yeah, and realistically, there's another big name running back later down
Yep.
here further, and honestly, like
I may
with
keep him
both
down
their track records,
there.
Fournette is like I don't know.
Yeah.
Fournette has proved. I mean, he's got a Super Bowl, so that speaks for itself.
Yep.
Anyways, um, so that takes you to number 5.
It does. And I just want to say this draft, and it's not really in the first round, but if you dig a little deeper into the second, third, and even the fourth, there is some talent at the running back position that was in this year's draft class. It's actually pretty astounding to look back at. Bob, I'm going to read you some names from the fourth round even. These are some fourth round running backs that went in this year, 2017. We got Tariq Cohen. We've got Jamal Williams. We've got Wayne Gallman. We've got Marlon Mack. Like, these are guys that have had, like, good season or two stints that dropped all the way to the
Yeah,
fourth in this draft. So there's some talent.
dude.
And, oh, yeah.
Tariq Cohen,
Yeah.
man. Oh, I love Tariq Cohen.
Isn't he injured again?
I think he just tore his ACL
Yeah.
literally on like Instagram
Oh.
Live or something like that. I watched that video. It was bad, and people were like, I
He
don't
was
know if I
coming
watched
off
it or if
injury,
I,
too. He was.
yeah,
Like, he just
he's a
recovered.
baller. Yeah, he's a baller. Like, and he came out of nowhere, out of nothing. Like, just his story is crazy.
Yep.
So I love Tariq Cohen. I was so disappointed when I heard about that. I picked him up a few years back as like a just to have on my fantasy team, and he ended up starting for me on a couple weeks and doing pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was man, that Tariq Cohen name. Man, I feel so
And,
bad for him. He's
oh,
such
I
a
do
good
too.
dude too.
He just
Yeah.
got off and he got injured right at the start of last season as well, and made his way back from injury. Then tears his Achilles tendon in a warm up this spring. Like
Also,
his
it was
first
Achilles,
workouts.
not ACL.
Yeah, I believe it was. Let me see. I'll hit it again just to be sure here.
I think you're right because I think his
Yeah, Achilles. Yeah, Achilles. So, just so brutal. You hate to hear those stories, especially with a guy as talented as Tariq Cohen there for sure. It's great. Aaron Jones was a fifth round running back in this draft class. Like how
man.
like this draft class was loaded with running back talent. I'm scrolling through Pro Football Reference here, looking at just all of them, and it's unbelievable. So back to our top 10 here. We've got our fifth overall pick, the Tennessee Titans. They took wide receiver Corey Davis, who has been bottom mid-tier. He's now a receiver on the Jets. I think he's their number one or number two. I mean, I guess not with what Gavin Wilson went there, right? Or which one? It was
Where?
the Jets. Gavin Wilson, I think, right? Yeah. Gavin Wilson this year. So Corey Davis, he was drafted, or Gavin Wilson was from this year's draft. Yeah, Corey Davis from 2017, but he's also on the Jets. So Corey Davis, I'm gonna have to bench him here. He's a mid draft wide receiver. I can't take it here. And if you're the Tennessee Titans, you've got Derrick Henry already. You don't have to worry about that. What would I want as the Tennessee Titans? And for me, I think you have to take this. I'm gonna. Okay, I won't go. Yeah, you have to take this. You have to. It's Marshawn Lattimore. I put him at 5. I think he's unbelievable. He's an anchor for the Saints, an absolute anchor. They can rely on him whenever. I think he's a phenomenal corner and arguably the best corner in this draft class. There are a couple good ones that went in the first round here that I won't spoil, but I would take Marshawn Lattimore number 5 because the Titans last year, I just remember seeing them. They were down to their corner position was a bit tough to watch if you weren't watching Nick Farley, who got injured, and he was a rookie last year as well. So imagine if they had Lattimore there and had him contracted up right. The Titans might actually stand a chance in a playoff game, but they are allergic to playoff wins unless Derrick Henry goes for 200 plus yards. So that's who I would take there.
Yeah, I like that. I do like that. Yeah, I mean, that's a good pick. Good pick moving Lattimore up.
He deserves it.
Yeah,
he deserves it for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, he's a really good corner. So, then that takes us into pick number 6, the New York Football Jets. They took Jamal Adams, safety out of LSU, and I'm keeping the pick.
I mean, think about
it's not even a question. I think, I mean, his time with the Jets was
really. I'm surprised you're keeping him there.
Really? Why?
He was electric. He really, at his peak, he was electric.
Yeah.
He definitely is.
I feel like he's fallen off.
Yeah, he has fallen off, and he's a bit injury. He's gonna be playing. Did you see the news on Jamal Adams? Actually, this is a good time to break it. Jamal Adams broke a finger or something in training camp.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and he's going to be playing the whole season with a special cast on one of his fingers so he can keep playing because he doesn't have time to sit games out for the Seahawks because the Seahawks need every win they can scrape and they need every player they can get into this coming season here. So, Jamal Adams, very, very timely draft here as well for him. So, I'll retract. I think keeping him, if they could have worked out their differences emotionally, the Jets and him, it definitely would have been a solid pick to keep there and build around. So he is a good building piece. You're right.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I'm giving these teams the benefit of the doubt. Here's how I'm looking at this: is if I think they had a good pick, I'm going to stick with that pick.
Sure, okay. That's
but
fair.
Like the Mitch Trubisky with the Bears, I think that was a failed experiment.
Absolutely.
So I think that was an obvious, and I think Jamal Adams, the Jets, that was a good pick for them. And then ultimately, looking back on it, didn't end up out, he's no longer with them. So it didn't work, but, I think that good intentions, that was a good pick.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I definitely see where you're coming from, and I'm gonna have to agree. He was coming off a hot season at LSU there too, so that was another great LSU team. That was Fournette, Tre'Davious White, Jamal Adams. They were good. So definitely, and I'm gonna kind of follow suit here with number 7. The Los Angeles Chargers selected Mike Williams, who I remember at the time people were saying was an absolute reach. They couldn't believe it. Number 7 overall for a receiver. But I think Mike Williams is the true anchor of that offense. And I've said anchor twice now, but I promise I'm not overusing it. Mike Williams is that dude. If you go watch Watch the Raiders-Chargers game at the end of last season and see he ripped it out of double coverage. He has been such a great target for Herbert, and what a great investment for the Chargers here. There are, some defensive players I could maybe take over him here. It's tough to say, but the way this has panned out for the Chargers, I don't think I can change this. I can't comfortably change it. I just can't. He's been fantastic for them, and he has been so reliable, and he is everything a team wants out of a number 2 receiver, and that's because he acts like a number 1 when he needs to, right?
Yeah, I think, I mean, he is definitely the best wide receiver taken in the first round of this draft.
Yeah, hands down.
So you can't, in my eyes, you can't replace the pick, because even like if you were to substitute him with a wide receiver, you would have to look in the second and third rounds, because I mean, these first rounders aren't
brutal.
Like you said, Corey Davis went 5, and then there's someone later down in the top 10 we'll talk about in a minute here. I'm not going to spoil it.
I can't wait to get into him.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree. I like the pick. I like keeping him. I mean, he's worked out real well for them.
Yeah, credit to you, Chargers. Credit to you. Good work, Mike Williams. Not a reach after all. I think a very good pick. And with that, you're into Carolina's poster child, who has played no football over the last. I mean, some, but not much.
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say I'm sticking with the pick here. Christian McCaffrey, running back out of Stanford. Everyone.
It's recency bias that makes me say no way. It really is, because
he was I mean, he has been phenomenal. His track record has been phenomenal.
Oh, so frustrating.
It is, and then it's
year,
just
right?
Like he can't stay healthy. No, this is not his year.
Hope, bro. We hope.
He can't stay healthy. He cannot.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's become a problem.
Yep. Has not played 16 games since 2019, and I know we got into McCaffrey in a past episode too, when I believe our fantasy running backs, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, with Leonard Fournette already off the board, keeping him with the Jags. I mean, obviously, if you look at the running back talent, later in this draft,
touch in the second round for sure.
Yeah, there's still some gems back there, but Christian McCaffrey was. I mean, I'm sticking with the pick.
Sure.
You can't not pick him. I think arguably he could even go higher in the draft. He could have I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he was third overall in voting for Offensive Player of the Year in 2019, and that really wasn't that far away. And the only people he finished behind were Lamar Jackson and Michael Thomas, and Michael Thomas's a record-shattering year with the 149 receptions, 1,700 yards, and 9 touchdowns. Right, so that's some great company. He actually had more votes than Patrick Mahomes and Russell Wilson that year, who also had. Some great performances out there, each 4,000 yards, great TD to interception ratios. So McCaffrey, it feels like he has not played football in 5 years, but he was putting up amazing performances for the first 3 years of his career in 17, 18, and 19. So I think you're absolutely right to stick with that pick, even with the pain that Christian McCaffrey has had to not only endure himself, but that all the fans of him have had to endure as well. So yeah, McCaffrey at 8, I don't hate it at all. He was a great pick, and we wish him a healthy season this upcoming year, right? That's
yes,
all.
Have
that's
fun
all we
with
can
Baker
say.
Mayfield.
Baker, McCaffrey, DJ Moore, the new trifecta of the NFL.
And maybe Sam Darnold.
And maybe
if
Sam
he beats
Darnold.
out Baker.
Probably not, but maybe Sam Darnold. And yeah, who knows? I imagine them being. I could see the coaching getting really toxic, like it was with Tua and Fitzpatrick, where it's like, oh, Baker, you're playing bad? Here, Darnold. Oh, Darnold, you're playing bad? Here, put Baker. Not letting them actually play it out and learn. So we'll see. The Carolina, they're another They could be a 4-win team. They could be a 10-win team. I have no clue what's going to happen with them because they, on paper, are actually not that bad as the team seems. But
Yeah.
the coaching is in question, and the chemistry is definitely in question as well. So
What do you mean?
Carolina,
You don't like Matt Rule?
I love Matt Rule, and I hate that he's so bad at coaching. I really do. I'm so frustrated. Like, I loved Matt Rule at Baylor. I loved that he got an NFL job, but man, it's just not worked out. And Carolina was far from a amazing franchise when he got there, so it's definitely not all on him. But he is, oh man, you want to root for him, and then he says something stupid in an interview, or he just makes a horrible coaching decision in the middle of a game, and their draft picks are, their draft history the last couple of years is a bit questionable as well. So yeah, Matt Rule, I love you, man. Come on the show, come talk to us, because we both love you, and like we want to figure out what's going on. We want to be here for you. We want to help.
Yeah, only until the Falcons get good again. But after that, listen, you can have the division. I don't really care. But I don't care. But when the Falcons get good, you got to go somewhere else. You got to go away.
Yep, that's fair. That leads us into number 9 here, a Super Bowl runner-up, and that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 9 overall. I remember watching so many highlights of this player because I was still very young in my football, really paying attention to all the details. I was very young into my analytical stages still, we'll call it. So I thought because he ran the fastest 40-yard dash in NFL Combine history that he was a bona fide superstar. Let me read his career stats here. He has 60 catches for 957 yards and 11 touchdowns. That is 5 years after he was drafted. So safe to say a big fat bust, and that is my boy John Ross, wide receiver out of Washington. Watch his college highlights, watch his combine highlights, but stop there because, man, so freaking fast. And I remember he tried to blame his not success, his unsuccessfulness on the Bengals. And I know he went somewhere else for a year, and let me see if I can remember or find where he went here. Yeah, he went to the Giants. 2021, and he played 10 games, had 11 catches for 200 yards and a touchdown. So overall, I'm going to say bust for John Ross. I have no love left. I'm sorry, my guy. I used it all too early. And if I'm the Bengals redrafting here, what was really questionable in their Super Bowl? Their defense, right? And who was getting clowned on in their Super Bowl? Eli Apple, right? Because Eli Apple, how much crap was he talking before the Super Bowl? And then he got clowned on 2 touchdowns on his head in the Super Bowl. So real tough to see from Eli Apple. So I'm going to go reach down into the 27th pick here. Sorry, Buffalo. I'm going to take Tre'Davious White, number 9, for the Bengals, because that would solve all of their problems from this year, and you wouldn't be sacrificing anything. It's not like the movies where you go back in time and change something and that messes up the future, because if Tre'Davious White was with the Bengals, they may have even been competitive a year earlier. So who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? But they still to this day need corner help bad. So we will move Tre'Davious White up to number 9. I honestly think it's a little low for Tre'Davious White with his career.
Me too.
But this was a pretty strong draft here. So with that, Bob, I'm going to send you to number 10 here. And since you already took him number 2, you're going to have to change this pick. You got the Kansas City Chiefs at number 10.
Yeah. See, this one gets tough because, sitting there at number 12, spoiler alert, we're not going to get to him, but is Deshaun Watson. He went to the Texans at 12. So I could easily do a little plug and play and, instead of Patty Mahomes, use Deshaun. But Deshaun's not on my good side right now. So I'm trying to keep that in mind, and then I'm thinking, I mean, what do the Chiefs like?
I
What
mean,
do they
they still
need?
had
They don't.
Alex Smith. They were still a wild card, like pushing for the division team. Like they were still competitive because they drafted Mahomes, and Mahomes did not touch the field for his first year.
Right.
So they
And
were.
so,
Let me get you their record so you can visualize it. Let me see. The 2017 Kansas City Chiefs were 9-6. So, and they lost in the wild card to the Titans. Oh my gosh, I remember that. That's when Marcus Mariota threw a touchdown pass off someone's helmet, and he caught his own pass
yeah.
for a touchdown. That's one of the coolest touchdowns I've ever seen in my life. If you haven't, please, please, I'm begging you, at home, Google Marcus Mariota, self touchdown, something like that. Mariota wild card touchdown, anything along those lines, and you will see how crazy that that was. But yeah, so you're a wild card team, Bob. You're a wild card team. You want best available here, I think, because Mahomes
Right.
didn't touch
Right.
the field. So who do you think in here, number 10?
Now, I think I want to go defense. I'm not exactly
Like it?
sure
Yep.
who were their corners at the time, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say it anyways. I would probably take Marlon Humphrey here
I like that.
at
Yep.
10.
I like that a lot.
You look around and you see you see some other talent. You see Adoree Jackson
Yep.
went to the Titans down at 18. But I think Humphrey is probably it's pretty slim pickings since you went and grabbed Trey White already,
Yep.
and yeah, so I would say Humphrey would probably be that would be my pick.
Yeah, I like it. That rounds out our 10 there, and that gives the Chiefs a bet. That'd be Humphrey and Matthew together. So that,
Right,
that would
that's
be
who.
a dynamic
Yeah,
dynamic little duo there, as well as Sorensen. And Sorensen's playing for the Saints this coming year, so that could be scary. Actually, he's amazing.
that guy's annoying.
Yeah, he's very annoying. He's all over the place at every. You're like, how is he over there now? Wait, what? How did he get over there?
Yeah.
So he's very interesting for sure. But I think that's a great top 10. We got what? Myles Garrett number 1 to Cleveland. We got Patrick Mahomes number 2 to Chicago. Imagine Mahomes in a Chicago jersey. I don't know if I can. That feels too
That'd be
weird.
so weird.
It
Yeah.
feels weird. We got T.J. Watt number 3 to San Francisco. T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa. That could be crazy. Leonard Fournette staying in Jacksonville, and in this alternate universe, we're going to say everyone is happy and there is no drama, and the Jaguars have won 3 Super Bowls by the recording of this podcast. We're going to say the Tennessee Titans, number 5. Oh my gosh, who did I switch Corey Davis out with? Marshawn Lattimore.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lattimore, number 5. We're going to keep Jamal Adams with the Jets, another alternate universe where everyone's happy, no drama, and the Jets lose the wild card playoff game 3 years in a row. Sorry. But it's bound to happen. Then we got Mike Williams staying with the Chargers at number 7. We got Christian McCaffrey staying at the Panthers at number 8. We, again, wish for a healthy Christian McCaffrey season. He is still young. He's still so young. Like, this man, he's what, 26, 27? Like, McCaffrey has years left on him. Like, if he can just stay healthy here. Yeah, he's 26, and he's already had his birthday this year. So he can still make a comeback. I want to see a Christian McCaffrey comeback for him. I want to see it because he was amazing for so long. And then to just fall off the last 2 seasons, it's tragic. Then we're going to go Cincinnati, number 9, Tre'Davious White. And number 10, we got the Kansas City Chiefs taking Marlon Humphrey. I'd say that's a pretty solid top 10 there, Bob.
Yeah, I agree. You know, yeah, I think it's just crazy to think about TJ Watt went 30th. He went all
Yeah,
30th to 3.
30th
Remove a
overall,
0.
TJ Watt. Let me name some players that went ahead of TJ Watt in the first round at home. And I'm going to name players that you will not be able to name. First, my
Right.
favorite player, Charles Harris. The Dolphins took Charles Harris, and I was so mad and so confused. But now he did pretty well for the Lions last year. He's having a, coming back, which, proud of him, but that was a horrible draft pick at the time for what the Dolphins could have got in TJ Watt, obviously. Even a Taco Charlton there. But yeah, Charles Harris. You've got Garyon Conley. Who? You've got, Takaris McKinley. Bob, you can speak to him on for a second. Takaris McKinley.
Garbage.
Falcon.
I was excited. I was so excited for Tack McKinley, and then he had his green hair and everything. He looked super cool. Garbage. He's terrible.
We got Gerard Davis in Detroit. Maybe selling insurance nowadays. I'm not sure. We got Garrett Bowles, Denver tackle. I don't know. Garrett Bowles. Yeah, I don't know. Is he good? Maybe he's good. Maybe we're slandering him for no reason. Let's see. Okay, he's still playing. He's still starting for the Broncos. So hey, Garrett, credit to you, my brother. 6'5", 300. We've got, who else went in front? OJ Howard, I think is good, really good, but he just can't stay healthy. So
yeah, and he also, he had to compete with like Rob Gronkowski last season. I think he was also injured as well. So we'll see what happens with OJ Howard. But
yeah, Jabril Peppers, who I actually loved at Michigan.
I
loved him in the NFL, but the Browns, or no, it was the Giants, I think, traded him, right? Or
yeah,
was it the other way
I was
around?
thinking about taking Peppers with that 10th pick. Honestly, it crossed my mind.
Cleveland traded him to the Giants, and now he's doing pretty well at the Giants.
Yeah,
I believe.
Credit
to Jabril Peppers. I love him. But yeah, moral of the story: T.J. Watt went 30th overall, and Mitchell Trubisky went second. And we love Mitch. We wish him the best in Pittsburgh, but. I don't.
You can't take him.
Yeah,
you can't take him all.
You could argue taking T.J. Watt over Myles Garrett here at number 1. So there's plenty of discussion to be had on on the amount of players that were taken ahead of him. And last piece I'll say here in this 2017 draft, I want to give an honorable mention to the second round of running backs. Dalvin Cook in the second round, Joe Mixon in the second round. Like, man, those are two starters right there. Day one starters, plug and play, and they're both
fantasy superstars too.
Yeah, fantasy superstars as well. Joe Mixon was just in the Super Bowl just this last year, so shout out to him. Shout out to Alvin Kamara in the third round to New Orleans. Like, what a steal! What an absolute steal! So, shout out to the running backs of 2017. I'll always shout the running backs out if I can because I'm biased and I love running backs. So that is all I will say on that one, and I think that's a pretty successful episode there, Bob. How you feeling?
Yeah, I think, you want to finish with one last segment? We're going
to bring back this or that?
Yeah, I think the fans are, however many listeners, are very few listeners.
I got hundreds
Thanks,
of
Mom, for listening.
Hundreds of texts and DMs about bringing back this or that. So if you guys listened last week, we introduced a segment at the end of the show for fun, but we have now realized would be a great way to cap off the show because it was actually a lot of fun. So we enjoyed doing it, and we're going to run it here where me and Bob present a unique situation to each other with NFL players involved. That is now the only bracket that we're putting on it is NFL players will be involved, and any situation is free roam here. So Bob, I will let you feed me your situation first. What do we want to end on with your this or that here?
My this or that is, would you rather have the hands of Julio Jones with the speed of an O-lineman or the speed of Tyreek Hill with the hands of an O-lineman? A lot of O-lineman disrespect right here.
Give me Tyreek's speed. I want to fly around. I want to be zipping around. I want to know how it feels.
You're just not sure if you can catch anything, though.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll catch anything, but I can beat my brother in a race, so that counts for something.
Okay.
So I'll take it, and you never know when you might need some speed, right? Speed can always come in handy. I don't know if I'll always be catching anything.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, I don't know. Thinking about, like,
the more I think about it, the more situations I'm put in where it's like, toss me the keys, toss me that bottle of water, and like, imagine just being able to catch anything at any time, like Julio. That would be electric. I gotta stay with the speed though. I have to.
A little toe tap every once in a while.
Toe tapping in the house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I love
yeah.
that. I'll stick with speed, but that actually got more intriguing the more I thought about it, so I like it. All right, and I will feed you my this or that now to close us off here. You have to invite either one of these players to your son's third birthday party. He is turning 3 years old, and you have to invite one of these two players. You either have to invite Marshawn Lynch, or you have to invite George Kittle. Who do you think is going to be the better time?
Marshawn Lynch, 100%.
Oh, yeah, same here.
Marshawn Lynch.
I love Kittle, no disrespect, but Marshawn Lynch, he'd show up with a whole limo full of Skittles for your kid. It'd be great.
Speaking of Skittles, did you hear about Skittles? I think they got banned.
What?
Yeah, my parents were telling me about it today. I think, shout out mom and dad, I think that they've been banned apparently over in the UK for years. And the FDA has been like ignoring some of the something about the dye in them can cause cancer.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it's red dye. All I know is that
40, I think.
I think they're getting pulled from shelves. So, maybe I don't want Marshawn Lynch pulling up with Skittles pouring out of the thing for my 3-year-old son.
M&M's, all right.
He can bring, up. He's probably got he's a crazy man. He probably has a pony guy. He could probably bring, I don't know. Yeah, he come whipping in the gator or whatever, the field.
Oh, the little field cart. Yeah.
Yes.
A ghost ride in the field cart. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
He would give rides around the neighborhood in his little field cart.
That'd
be fun.
He's pure entertainment. I love it. Let's see. So Here it is. Beginning August 7th, food manufacturers in Europe won't be able to use titanium dioxide, a color additive, but that doesn't mean the ingredient is toxic to humans. Well, it must mean something if they're banning it, so maybe it's not.
Listen, I just heard it from, but that was just.
Oh no, I'm with it. I've heard this my whole life about food coloring and dyes not being good for you in large amounts, but if you really love Skittles out there, you keep eating them. Maybe they'll even take it out and keep just making Skittles without that ingredient, right? That'd be nice of them.
Probably would taste the same.
Yeah, that'd be considerate of them to do that. So, everyone keep Christian McCaffrey and Skittles in your prayers tonight, both to come out on the healthier end of things. And we will wrap this episode here, and as always, thank you guys for listening. We're really getting close to football season here. We got the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, which is, a lot of you roll your eyes. It's just preseason, but I think it'll be exciting because the Jaguars are playing, and the only starter who's guaranteed a starting spot on the Jaguars, I feel like, is Trevor Lawrence. So I think we're going to see a lot of players in the rotation for Jacksonville that get to have a chance at making that starting roster. So I'm excited. Maybe we'll get some Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, or maybe they'll sit out because they don't want to risk it, which I understand. But we're coming so close to football, guys, and we're excited to get back to two episodes a week and get more and more creative content out there for you.
Yep. And I think that wraps us up, Kurt. So
Absolutely.
We will see you guys hopefully next week. I'll be on vacation next week, so maybe Kurt we'll try and get another one out here next week. And if I'm not on it, I'm sure Kurt will have somebody a guest star on it as well. So
absolutely.
Yeah,
sounds
good.
We'll
see you guys next week.
Instagram and Twitter, as always, the Curt Bob Show. You can find us, Curt Bob Show, the Curt Bob Show, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out. And we will have this episode up on Spotify and YouTube for you. So thank you guys so much, and everyone have a good one. See you next time.